I can't. Do you want me in the centre?
When are we going? Have you ever been scrolling through Auto Trader, looking at all the supercars, thinking, I wish that could be me?
Well, here are 5 cheap supercars for under £60,000. Well, choice number 1 is the mighty Aston Martin DB9. Now, I don't know about you, Nina, but that was an absolute dream car for me as a child growing up.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Oh, 100%.
Massive V12 engine, there's 2 Ford V6s mated together. Amazingly, you can now pick one up for just over £20,000. Now, for a good one, we're going to scroll through them now. I think for a good one, you're looking at around 30 because, well, who really wants a £20,000 V12 that's been made in the Midlands?
A cheap Aston Martin is an expensive Aston Martin.
Exactly.
That's what I'm telling
Let's
you.
have a little scroll.
Well, I have to confess, here we have a combination. We've got the DB9 and there are some advantages in here. But I think, you know...
I thought there was a joke about advantages. no, that was good. Right.
Well, there are some advantages.
Okay,
starting off with this Aston Martin DB9.
That's quite a late one as well, 2007.
Low mileage, 60,000 miles.
I prefer the earlier wheels like this one here, the 22 brand.
I'm not a fan of the colour, I have to be honest.
No, the colour's not good.
Reminds me of Silverstone on the E39 M5.
Yeah, that's so nerdy. AML, good number plate. Okay, moving on. It's too nerdy. DB7, no, get off my screen. That's nice.
Be gone.
So I think you're looking at, look, that's quite nice, 29 grand.
Oh, I'd
look
get
at
that. Convertible.
Volante.
Great minds think alike.
Okay, wonderful.
Stop.
So I think you're looking at sort of £29,000, £30,000 for a good example, especially a Volante. But that is tempting because I'm not in his position right now. I've got a Mini Cooper S, but if I had £30,000, for me, it's between the Aston Martin DB9 and our next candidate, which is
the Audi R8. Now I have to say, for me, it's got to be first gen. Obviously, our price.
It's going to have to
be. I do like the V10. However, I think the V8 with the gated manual gearbox would be the perfect spec for me.
But also, that's in our price bracket. The V10 is something like £40,000 to £50,000. I know that off by heart because I've looked at this a lot in my spare time.
Nice Lambo V10.
I'm a very sad
Screaming.
But the V8 you can get from around £29,000 to £40,000. I think if you spent 35 grand, you're looking at a nice example. It's not going to go wrong completely, but it's still attainable because if you're going to go above £35,000, you start to get into V10 territory, and that's when you think...
Also, another benefit of this car for me, you've got the 4.2 litre V8 from the RS4.
Yeah.
A lot of the parts are standard Audi parts. It's going to be cheaper to run, cheaper to maintain than, say, an Aston Martin. And that, for me, it kind of puts it on the pedestal for the #1 position.
Moving on. That's such a pisser.
That's such a geriatric piss.
Oh, is that got a cap on?
I think you need to take that off.
Hang on. This is all part of the car chat. It's alright. Oh, there we go. Hang on. I've got it down there. Okay.
It's a big steel rod. Oh, look at that.
You're in a very phallic mood today, aren't you?
Now, a car company you might think, oh, £60,000, that won't be on the list. But Ferraris. Some good examples I've found on Auto Trader.
Straight away, you got the archetypal Ferrari that I knew would be on this list, the California, the original one. Now, I've got a quick story here. I remember I went to a car event in Horsham once. Really sexy.
Wow.
Oh, amazing. They're lining up these different Ferraris to go like down this street so all these kids could hear the engines. And this guy pulled up in a California, and the guy with the sort of microphone was comparing actually humiliated him by saying, you paid £200,000 for this, didn't you, Chris? Yeah. How much is it worth now? 50. And his wife literally looked at him like, we've just sold
He had
the
a
house for
wife.
that. Yeah.
To be honest, when I look at someone in one of these, I think you've recently been divorced. You've lost custody of your children.
£60,000 though, what a bargain.
Yeah, it's all right.
What's this? 456. That's another entry-level Ferrari that everyone talks about. It's the predecessor to what I think is going to be the choice here, the 612.
But I'm telling you, don't buy it. It's from Slough.
Oh,
so,
yeah. No.
No.
Yeah.
No, they're ugly. How do you pronounce it? Is it the Mondial or?
Mondial,
Okay, yeah.
Mondial's always been the butt of the joke. So when people say Ferrari make the best looking cars, but they made the Mondial.
Yeah. Looks like an MX-5 had a baby with
a
turd. I have to say, I do love a Ferrari 400. Just, there's something quite 70s and 80s about it.
Well, these went through a real rut, and this is why I'm worried about this car, because they lost all their value in the 80s and 90s. No one wanted one because they thought it was ugly. It wasn't as good as a 330 GT, I want to say. They went before it. But now I think it's really coming into its own. As a gated, is it a manual?
This one is auto. I think they do a manual version.
They do a gated manual as well. V12, what an amazing package.
But look at those haunches. It's giving me sort of Bentley 8 or Bentley Brooklands vibes.
I think the 70s and 80s styling is really coming into its own. Look at that specification. 612 Scaglietti. Now this is what we want to look at. This is so underrated because it's not the best looking Ferrari. It looks a bit like a fish, I always think.
Does it have a V12, this one?
V12 is the top speed is incredible for it. It's like over 200 because it's so slippery.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a really good GT car. The economy is pretty good.
Yeah, it does look, it's kind of got that early 2000s look to it, hasn't it?
For 60 grand, that's fantastic. In the Rosso Corsa. That's fantastic. I love that. So, you can get a lovely Ferrari for just under £60,000. So the next choice on our list to go from Italy back to Woking is the McLaren 12C. Now, really you're looking at the MP4 12C, which is the earlier car, which is the most unsexy supercar name you could ever think of.
Wait, hang on.
Sounds like a washing machine.
Just for clarity here, we only found one, and it was Cat N.
Oh, is it Cat N?
Yeah. So.
Oh well. I have found others though. They do hover around that mark.
It makes sense. Look.
It's more like if you can do some man maths. Oh, it's in Slough.
Slough, yeah.
That's why. But if you do some man maths, you think, well, I'm going to spend 60 grand. If you spend 65, just remortgage the house, sell your kids, sell the golf clubs, and get one.
But look at that. That bloke's house is probably worth less than the car in front of it.
Why has he got that? I never understand people who have like supercars outside incredibly average houses.
We sound like such
We do sound like twats, oh god. That's because we are.
I want to get a DBS and then flip it and then get my balls hit by a massive rope.
I've got a little itch down there. Would you mind?
What can I say?
In a Swiss dungeon.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, he's given it away. It's the Maserati Gran Turismo, the model that came out, I think it was 2007, around the same time as the Alpha 8C, which is on the same floor plan with the same engine. The Maserati was obviously made in far larger numbers, but the same amazing noise. Ferrari derived its rumoured V8, and altogether a fantastic car for, if you're really, really, really brave, under £20,000.
See, personally, I look at a Maserati for under £20,000 and I go, £20,000 engine rebuild.
Yes, exactly. Well, there's one on here that did like 150,000 miles. You just think, I want to shake that man's hand. He is brave.
What are the common issues with
That's
the
full on.
Maserati Gran
That is the
Turismo?
equivalent of going in without a condom. A Maserati with 150 on
A tie hooker.
And we're off there. I think it's like any car. You've got to buy well, look for one that's looked after, and as long as you look after it, I can't really see much that could go wrong.
There's some interesting colours.
There are some interesting colours. I think it's such a classy car for that money. I mean, think about what you can get for £20,000. A Ford Focus on finance. You can't get anything.
I think the wheels are very important on this car.
Yeah, it's very spec sensitive.
Yeah.
The only problem with this car styling wise is the early cars had quite small wheels and quite large wheel arches. So it kind of looked like a sofa.
Jeez, I'm not buying anything from Harrow. See, I like that white, but those wheels.
Yeah.
That looks better.
That's good, isn't it? That's nice. I like the colour. I'm more of a grey guy.
Red calipers, my Honda Jazz has that.
Alright.
So basically, we can conclude that you can get a Maserati.
You can if you're really brave. It's the bravest of the lot.
Just be aware, you might have to spend a bit of money on maintenance, but maybe not.
In conclusion, what was your favourite car of the lot? What would you go for?
100%, I'm sorry, but I'm going for a first generation Audi R8.
I couldn't agree more.
It's the way to go.
30,000 to 35,000 pounds, I'm going to buy a V8.
It's the cheapest way to look like Tony Stark.
Apart from a goatee beard.
So we hope you tolerated that short little video we did. We want to remind you something though.
We want to remind you to like, subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss another video of ours. I physically want to vomit saying those words because I've hated everyone who's ever said it on a channel that I've subscribed to, but please do it, otherwise we'll starve to death.
Follow us on TikTok, we have 1 million views there. How amazing is that?
1 million views on one video.
1 million people have seen a video of me pushing up my window.
Iconic. Amazing. Or Instagram.